What's up, guys? I'm Brad. So I'm going to give you a quick review of the CGC Fast Track option for magazines. I believe they also have this option for comics, but my direct experience that I'm going to share is with magazines, specifically Sports Illustrated and that type. So first off, what is the CGC Fast Track option? Well, let's look at the different service options that CGC offers in terms of grading sports magazines. Okay, so you can see right here, we've got the different service options for magazines. You've got, first off, CGC breaks them into the year that the magazine came out. You've got modern is anything from 1975 to present. Vintage is anything before 1975. So the two basic tiers for these, like kind of the slowest and the cheapest tiers, is just going to be the basic modern, the basic vintage. And you can see for modern issues from 75 or later, the standard fee is $25 per item. And right now, the current turnaround is about 30 days. Now, you do need to understand that's 30 business days. So, take that into consideration. Also, you got to take into account that when you ship a magazine, it's usually, 7 to 14 days has been my experience. Probably more like 10 to 14 days before CGC actually checks in that they have received your submission, and they don't start that clock. This 30 days, this 30-day turnaround, that clock doesn't really start until they've actually checked in your magazine. So you probably need to add at least 2 weeks extra time, and maybe even 3 weeks if you're going to take the return shipping into account as well. But anyway, that's what CG lists on here on their website is about 30 business days is their turnaround time, $25 per item for those modern. Okay, and then for the vintage, you can see that the fee per item jumps up to 37, but the turnaround time is the same, 30 days. Now, if you look below that, you can see there is this fast track option plus $15, and that the fast track turnaround is only 10 days. That is for the modern issues. For the vintage issues, the fast track is 20 days. So in essence, what this means is if you want to pay 15 extra dollars per magazine, you can get your modern magazines back approximately 20 days faster. I mean, really, if you take into account the weekends, it'd, be probably closer to 25 or 26 days faster. And for the vintage magazines, if you want to pay 15 extra per, you can get them, whatever, 10 to 14 days faster. So the question now becomes, is this CGC Fast Track actually worth it? Well, let me share my experience with you. So I send in a lot of submissions, and almost all of them are at the basic modern or vintage level with that approximate turnaround of 30 days. And for the most part, CGC hasn't been too far off of that. The last 3 modern submissions that I have returned back, here has been my turnaround time. And also, this turnaround time that I'm going to read you is actual days. I'm not taking into account business days because, trying to add in the weekends and the holidays just makes it more confusing. So this is the actual number of days between when CGC checked in my submission and between the day that CGC shipped it out. So it's also not taking into account the wait time after I shipped it and then the wait time after it, they ship it until it gets back to my house. I'm strictly looking at when CGC received it versus when CGC shipped it out, which is what CGC is referring to in their workaround time or turnaround time. So the most recent modern submission that I got back, which was on September 28th, that only took 21 days. The CGC checked those in on September 7th, and this is 2023, and they shipped them out on September 28th, so only 21 days. The submission previous to that was once again modern, took 1 month and 22 days, so that one was about a month longer, and then the one before that was 1 month and 9 days. So both of those were I'd say actually the last one was right on what their listed turnaround time is whenever you consider that they're talking business days. That other one that was 1 month and 20 days, it was a little bit over. And then of course the 21 days was under. So, all in all, it probably averages out pretty close to 30 days turnaround like they have listed. My most recent vintage order, magazines, from before 1975, I got that one back on, let's see, it looks like, so I sent that in, or CGC checked it in on June 5th of 2023, and I received it back on July 26th. So that was 1 month and 21 days. When you average out all four of those most recent submissions that I've gotten back, the three moderns and the one vintage, it's about 40 days. And once again, that's just 40 straight up days. That's not taking into account the weekends and calculating business days. Now, with all that being said, I did send in one submission via Fast Track just because I kind of wanted to test it out and see how it worked and was it worth it. So the submission that I sent in Fast Track only had one magazine. I didn't want to spend, because once again, this $15 extra is per item. So if you were to send in 10 magazines in that order and you want to send it in Fast Track, well, 10 items times 15, you're going to pay an extra $150 to potentially receive it, only 10 or 20 days faster than the normal submission. So I only sent in one. I just paid $15 extra for this one item. Now it was a vintage item that I sent in via Fast Track. CGC checked that submission in on August 31st of 2023, and I got it back on September 28th. So that's about 28 days. So once again, compare that to the average of my previous four submissions, which was about 40 days. And, yeah, I did get it about 12 days quicker. And, once again, CGC says on the vintage Fast Track that you can expect it in 20 days as opposed to 30 days. So, really the question comes down to, is it worth it to you? In my opinion, I probably won't go through the Fast Track again because it just doesn't really seem to save that much time. I mean, in fact, when you look at it, like I said, my most recent submission that I got back, which was a modern submission, I got back in 21 days. And then my vintage Fast Track, I got back in 28 days. So was that extra $15 that I paid really worth it? When really it wasn't much of a difference compared to what CGC is doing now on their basic tiers. Now, a year ago, it would have made a ton of sense because CGC's turnaround time, believe it or not, if you weren't in the hobby yet, it was taking over a year to get our graded magazines back. But earlier this year, they really made some major improvements, and now they're hitting this 30-day turnaround window, fairly consistently. So it just doesn't seem to make as much sense now to pay $15 extra to only potentially get your magazine back a couple days earlier. And in some instances, maybe it's not even any faster at all. Now I could definitely see it if like in my case, if maybe you only had one or two magazines that you are really wanting to get back quickly. Okay, yeah, I mean, an extra 15 or $30, not a huge deal. But, once again, if you're sending in a larger order with 5 to 10 or more magazines, I don't think that I would recommend using the Fast Track. Just doesn't really seem to make much sense. So anyway, that's it. A really quick video, but I've had a lot of people ask me about this Fast Track because this is kind of a newer thing that CGC just started offering several months back. So I wanted to test it and kind of see for myself what the turnaround looked like and determined whether or not it was worth it for me. So the verdict is probably not. I probably won't use the Fast Track again. I could definitely see it if you've maybe just got one or two issues that you want to get back as soon as possible. And of course, CGC does have other tiers. They do have a high value option where it's supposed to be items that would be possibly valued a little bit higher, and their turnaround for that is 15 days. They also have the unlimited value option, and the turnaround for that is 6 days. But the fee for that is $150 per item. So also I will just say bluntly that as of now, CGC is not really tracking value of Sports Illustrated magazines like they would for a comic. If you're sending in a Superman #1, the first appearance of Superman comic, they're not going to let you send that in under the lowest tier because it's very well known and established that that magazine has major value. So they would upcharge you that, and you would have to pay that at least $150 per item. And actually, it says 4% of fair market value. So you'd probably, in the Superman case, you'd be paying a lot more than $150 of a submission fee because they know that that item is very valuable. And so they would take that estimated market value to determine your submission fee. They're not doing that as of now with Sports Illustrated. I think they probably will eventually. That's the same thing that PSA and the other companies do with grading cards. But I sent in a Mickey Mantle first cover that ended up grading at an 8.0. It was a newsstand. I mean, that's got major value compared to a lot of these other Sports Illustrated magazines. And I just sent it in at the basic vintage level. Of course, I didn't know what grade it was going to come back at, but coming back at an 8.0, once again, there's major value there, and I did not get upcharged at all. All right, so if you have sent any issues in through the fast track option, please drop a comment and let me know what your experience has been, if it was similar to mine or if maybe it was different. And I appreciate y'all watching. Till the next video, see you next time.